Hello, EDCI 700CZ cohort, the Charlotte folks. Dr. Palermo with your Week 10 message, which is primarily to say that we are going to be meeting in Charlotte this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you there. A bunch of you have signed up and have text facilitation on your list, which means you'll be leading our learning for 45 minutes or so. And uh, please come prepared for that, and let me know if there are any changes or alterations we need to make in that schedule. The text facilitation schedule will be reloaded in the November 3-4 course meeting information over here. I'll put that up there along with the rubric that I'm using to evaluate those. But we had a great start with them in September, so I'm looking forward to that as well. This week, there's not much reading or writing for you to specifically do during the week because you're so busy writing your CNA, OA, and FCEP. Now, I am going to do a little mini lecture here on the FCEP, but otherwise, in terms of work this week, there's an APA tip. There is a Morgan reading, Chapter 11 summarizes some stuff, and a little bit of an encouragement. I know that many of you are gasping for air and having a hard time with some of this graduate work. Hang in there. You're smart folks, and I believe that you can do it. Never give up on a dream just because of the time it'll take to accomplish it. Time's going to pass anyway. But if you're struggling, please let me know how I can help. Now, the FCEPA. Remember that CNA and OA are standalones, and you're really not going to follow up with an action plan for either of those. The FCEP is the first of your evidences where there is follow-up in subsequent semesters, where you will identify a need this semester and then put an action plan in place next semester to try to improve that need. We're all about continuous improvement, and then you'll be studying the results in summer to see how that went. So from your CNA or OA, you should have identified some area of need in family or community engagement or involvement in your school. Now, I hope that something bubbled up and it was really obvious. There's no PTA, or gosh, we really don't communicate well with our parents, or we don't do our best job in being welcoming to diverse groups of parents. If some need just boiled up, then that's great. If it hasn't, then there's a resource that you can look to see what the standards are for family and community engagement. And I'm going to switch my screens here. So I have switched screens and gone to something that is in your resource section, National Standards for Family and School Partnerships. It's the PTA folks. And please spend some time exploring here, both to learn what's here and what the standard is for successful family and school partnerships, but also to be able to have research to cite in your FCEP, which you need to do. I suggest that you start by looking at the standards, and they're listed here on the first page, the home page where you land, but if you will dig just a little bit deeper into some of these, communicating effectively, for instance. I know that almost every school already does a PTA newsletter, a letter from the principal weekly, maybe the principal or someone does a phone call to home. Dig just a little bit deeper and see how you can engage parents and others in regular communication. Dig deeper. The standards do a nice job here in telling you what is emerging, progressing, or excelling in terms of their standard. And if there's anything that you can do to move your group along, here are some suggestions. For instance, you can always improve the level of communication between home and school. If you're doing the newsletter, the flyer, the automated phone call, they call that emerging. So if you're collaborating in multiple communication tools, this is the way to, here is your action plan for moving your group from a stated need of improving communication between home and school up to the next level. And that's going to key right into something I'm going to describe next, called the action plan. Now, so please look at these standards and see how they're written. See how you can identify a need and see how you could put a plan into place, multiple programs, policies, and practices to meet the needs of parents are identified. Survey the parents. That's how you can improve communication with them. Survey them. Give them access to the principal. So depending on your school, hopefully you can identify some things that can be done. Now, the FCEP, again, is the first of many evidences, several evidences that have multiple parts where you're going to identify the need in Part A, where you're going to create an action plan and do something in Part B, increase the number of parent meetings, increase the number of communications sent home from school. You're going to do something, and you need to write it up in an action plan that is measurable and identifies the key parties and identifies the resources that you need to pull off this plan. So many of you, if you've been involved in schools, involved in school improvement in the past, maybe there's an action plan template at your school already. And I'm not going to suggest that you reinvent the wheel. But if you've never heard of an action plan, also embedded here in the resources in Blackboard are a bunch about action plans. And here's one that describes how to create an action plan, the component parts of an action plan, and once you see some templates, I think you're going to get an idea. I'm sorry you have to turn this on the side, but goals, objectives, maybe the objective is to improve communication between home and school. And how are you going to do that? Just exactly what action steps are you going to take in order to improve communication between home and school? You're going to take your weekly newsletter and bump it up to twice a week. Or you're going to create a newsletter where there has never been one. You're going to take your once a year PTA meeting and increase it to 2 or 3 PTA meetings. You're going to do something to improve in a measurable way, the parent and community involvement. Do not shoot for the sky, please. 1 or 2 broad goals and 2 or 3 action steps, objectives underneath those are plenty. So less can be more, but the point of an action plan is to hold people accountable. So we say exactly what will be done. Who is going to create that newsletter if you're going to do it? Who is going to arrange that meeting? What will be done? You're going to have another PTA meeting. Who's responsible for it? What resources do you need? Be very specific about how and when you're going to have this activity or implement this improved communication plan. Who does what? So there's a couple different versions of the action plan for you here, some more detailed than others. And again, if your school is using a school improvement action plan template, that's fine. Don't create a new one just for this activity. So that was just a little bit about the Family Community Engagement Plan. Big philosophy, it takes a whole village to raise a child, right? So the more we get families and community members and civic organizations involved in the life of the school, the better, okay? It is a 3-parter that has an action plan, and you have both PTA standards and action plan templates for you here in the resources for course content. And I've copied that stuff over into the November 2nd and 3rd folder as well, but I pulled that from this FCEP folder over in resources, and I've copied it over for you now. There's the PTA standards. There's the action plan template that I was showing you. So this stuff is here for you in Blackboard. Please use it in your FCEP, and I'll see you soon in Charlotte. Thanks.